This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet world, West Alabama. How we do it today on this Monday? It is The Joe Gaither Show right here on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. You're checking us out on the Bama Central YouTube channel, or you're watching us on my own social media machines at Joe Gaither 6 on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. We're having a whole lot of fun hanging out in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios right here off McFarland Boulevard. Well, I encourage you guys to check Derek Daniel and his team out. 205-758-3391 for all of your insurance needs. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. We're going to have a lot of fun, or we're going to try to have a lot of fun. Oh, can we have any fun? Is there any fun to be had? Well, first, before we get going, we need to tell you guys how excited we are because we're making a pretty big change. We're welcoming semi-permanent. Obviously, it won't be every single day, but a lot of days. We're going to be having my friend Mason Woods join the show from here on out. Mason Woods has broken free from the minds of manual labor and is crossed over into media permanently. So, Mason, thank you so much for being a part of the show. So sad that our first show together, our first official show together with you on the payroll, it may not be that fun. Are you doing okay? Have you survived? The sun did come up in Tuscaloosa. Have you survived the day so far? Really, 2 days so far after Alabama lost to Tennessee 24-17.
It's been tough. It's been rough. There's not really any other way to put it. It has been a rough 48 hours for anybody who follows the Tide, anybody that was watching that game. Which I don't want to say we told you so, but we have talked about this before, and I'm pretty sure we talked about it the last time I was on the show. This being a bit of a game to watch. It's tough. Just about everything that could have gone wrong for Alabama did. They really couldn't get anything going anywhere. They couldn't capitalize on any of Tennessee's mistakes. They couldn't move the ball on offense, passing or running the ball. Really, you have a few spurts here and there. You make a few completions here, maybe. Bad all around. Bad play calling, bad coaching, bad play from the defense, bad play from the offense, bad special teams. I mean, every phase of the game.
Oh my gosh, you just reminded me. We were taking notes before our show got started today. I didn't even write anything down on Graham Nicholson, and we've got to work that into the show somewhere. But what we're going to do today, we're just going to kind of go over the Alabama and Tennessee loss. We invite you to jump in and leave us a comment on the Bama Central YouTube channel. We've seen a lot of your comments already on those press conferences. Just a little breaking news. Nick Sheridan's not reading those comments. Kane Womack is not in the Bama Central comments. I am. I'm happy to read your comments. We enjoy them. You can leave them on our show for sure, right there on the Bama Central YouTube channel or at Joe Gaither 6 if you want to react real time. We're going to talk about the run game, the lack of usage. Oh my gosh, we thought going into the year, Jam and Justice, best running back duo in the country. Takes me back to Mark and Trent Richardson, 2009. No. So we'll talk about the running game. We're going to talk about Jalen Milroe. Is he hurt? Should you bench him? What in the world went wrong with Jalen Milroe? We'll talk about 4th and 22, a screen pass. Should you have punted the ball? What in the world was that about? We'll talk about the defense, getting a little lucky here and there, but making their own luck, also getting a lot of havoc plays and doing, everything they needed to do for the offense to win the game. We'll talk about the defense, a guy who really left his all out there in Neyland Stadium for the Crimson Tide, but it just wasn't enough. We'll talk about Dylan Sampson. It, just as we predicted last week, became a problem for Alabama in the second half. And then we will finish with a huge topic, discipline. And we have like 18 chapters written down under the discipline chapter, starting with you, Josh Chapman. I don't want to get in a fight with you, Josh, because you are the man, and you could easily squash me like a bug. And I'm not doing what you're doing in a day in and day out basis. But what are you doing, man? Walking into the stadium with a cigar in your mouth. I know it's the cigar game, and I know it wasn't lit. Technically, it wasn't lit, so I know it's not celebrating.
Optics.
But yes. Walking in like you already won the game. We'll get to that at the very, very end. You guys can jump in and join us on the comment section at Joe Gaither 6. But Mason Woods, let's start with Nick Sheridan, and let's start with the Alabama run game. You give Jam Miller 12 carries. You give Justice Haynes 8 carries. The whole game, collectively 20 carries between them. Just terrible rushing. 75 rushing yards total with the team. I think that Jam had like 40 something, and Justice had like 20 something, and then Jalen chipped in with another 10 or 11 on like 14 carries. What is it going to take for Alabama? I mean, we talked about it week in and week out on the show. We've talked about it with you before. We talked about it with all of us. So what's it going to take for Alabama to say, you know what, we're going to commit to the run game with Jam and Justice?
I don't know at this point. I mean, we were talking about it before the show. Jalen Miller threw the ball 27 times in the first half of this. It was pretty obvious it wasn't working too well, so I don't know why they stuck with it going into the second half. Like you said earlier, we have 2 running backs who coming into the season were supposed to, bring Bama football back, bring this rushing attack back that we know so well and that Bama fans have relied on for so long, that Alabama has relied on for so long. But it's just non-existent this year. And you wonder, is it Kalen DeBoer? He just has a system that he wants to implement that Jalen Milroe maybe can't quite play in. He can't quite do the things that DeBoer is asking him to do. If that's the case, though, let's adjust the system. Milroe's not going to be here next year. You can get onto that when another quarterback takes over. When someone who has the skill set.
All right, we're going to talk about Jalen in just a minute, but I want to focus just really on the run game. You've got 20 carries between the two of them. Like we said, 8 of the carries are RPOs. And okay, that's fine. I believe I wrote 8 on those 8 carries. You hit like 30 something yards. I wrote this at like 4 a.m. this morning. So if you read the cover this morning on BamaCentral.com, I'm sorry that came off maybe a little sleepy looking at Alabama's run game. But you only really utilized it a couple of different times. You utilized it when you were on the goal line with Justice Haynes late. He scored you a touchdown right there. You're at the 6 yard line or so. You used it couple times backed up in your own end. I mean, these are obvious times where you're going to hand the ball off to the running back. Okay. But then the best part, like you really got into it first drive of the second half. Defense gets themselves a stop. Didn't they get a stop right out of halftime? Yeah, they got a 3rd down and they ultimately got a stop. You got the ball back on offense and you subbed Wilkin Formby in at right tackle. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I know, look, a lot of the offensive linemen are dealing with injuries. I know Jaden Roberts in particularly is playing a little bit banged up, but the right side of the offensive line is struggling. You sub in Vandermark, you sub in Wilkin Formby. Vandermark wasn't in on the first drive. It was Roberts. And you go 5 straight runs and you get out to midfield. And then it's just like that was it. You called 4 carries, 4 running back carries, 4 times in the fourth quarter did you hand the ball to these 2 guys. And I know that Jalen is the man. Look, he is your most athletic player on the team. And I'm not going to sit here and say don't throw to Ryan Williams. 18 targets is maybe a little too much, but I'm not going to say don't throw to Ryan Williams. Any plan that says you're throwing to Ryan Williams is probably a good one. But why? I mean, what am I missing, Mason, in Jam and Justice's game? What am I missing in the offensive line? You're getting a lot of pin and pull, and that's working for you. You're not as successful just kind of lining up, getting downhill at people, but I also contend that you haven't been committed to it, and those things take time. Look at Tennessee. Tennessee goes, 10 carries to Dylan Sampson in the first half, just sporadically, and then it was, 12, 13 more in the second half. And by the time the game is born on, he scores the touchdown. And it's like, oh, he's going to be a problem the rest of this game because it's just worn on you. So what's it going to take? What am I missing in these 2 guys' games? Is it just stubbornness from Nick Sheridan? Is it just inexperience? I know when I watched the game back, there was a lot of stacked boxes. So, yes, the option is let's throw the ball against these stacked boxes. I get that. That's football sense. And that is, common sense. But 45 times, like at some point you got to say, you know what, Jalen, you know what? I know it's an ugly look, but you got to be a man.
Put a hat on a hat.
You got to go dig somebody out. You got to go dig someone out of their hole or wash them down. I mean, look, you get 3rd and 1 in the first half, and Jalen Milroe almost sneaks away for what would have been like a 70-yard touchdown run. That would have been amazing. But then you follow it up the next a little bit later, 4th and 1. You can barely get a yard. You can barely get an inch. And I know 4th and 1, everybody's pinched in there. I get that. But like, you just got to infuse some attitude into this team. And I think you just got to force it a little bit.
I agree. I think, one of the notes that I wrote down while watching the game was that the running backs were able to run with some patience. They were able to find holes at times and make things happen when it looked like there maybe wasn't going to be something on a certain play. So there were bright spots in the run game. They are both very talented running backs, and it's you look at what they were able to do, and like you said, very limited action. But downhill run game is something that takes time to get going. You look at Derrick Henry in the NFL is a perfect example of getting a downhill running game going. The man will have almost no yards in the first half. They continue to hand him the ball. By the fourth quarter, he's the leading rusher. He's got 2 touchdowns, and he's probably got 40 fantasy. That is a thing that you kind of do just have to force at times. I'm going to sound like the old head, like, oh, you got to run the ball here. But sometimes that's what it takes. There really is, I think, a mental component of just lining up and running the ball, running someone over, and kind of forcing your will onto another team, onto another defense. That's something that Alabama did not do against Tennessee, really ever.
No, welcome back. Oh, my goodness gracious. Absolutely messing everybody up with some technical difficulties. That is my fault, everybody. I'm sorry. Welcome back into the Joe Gaither Show. I was paranoid because I couldn't hear Mason Woods, but you guys could. So that was all that matters, because Mason was giving us some insight on the Alabama-Tennessee game, and we're going to pick right back up with the run game. We got a big show planned for you today. We're going to combine these 2 segments on our podcast platforms and on our video streams if you're watching this back on the Bama Central YouTube channel. So we'll make that nice and smooth. But really, I was just complaining about the lack of usage of Jam and Justice in the run game. You only give them 4 carries in the fourth quarter on a night where Jalen is struggling, on a night where we'll talk about if he was hurt or not, and we'll talk about all his struggles. Why not take the weight off of him by using 5-star running back Justice Haynes, by using, Jam may as well be a 5-star. He's really shown the ability to be explosive. I just wish that maybe I was a little watching the game with envy, the way that Tennessee was controlling the pace of the game with Dylan Sampson. Yeah, taking their shots with Nico Iamaleava, and we'll talk about those shots as well, but just controlling the pace with Dylan Sampson. And we'll bring Mason right back in right there. Sorry, I didn't punch him back in, but he was getting lined back in there. Mason, you were saying about the running game before we move on to Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, I think you were kind of hitting on it there. It's just the lack of usage is what's kind of concerning me, because I think Jam and Justice both are backs that take some time to get going. They're both explosive, hit you hard kind of running backs. I don't think either of them are necessarily like a burner or going to get you on the edge. So I think their style of play, it kind of have to force it, kind of have to just stick with it until it works. And a lot of the time it will work. Just stick with it. But for whatever reason, Kalen DeBoer and company were afraid to do so.
How many times? I know I really, really do not want to remember when Coach Saban did this, because I've been hating that narrative. But I think back to 2009 when it's Mark Ingram for 3 yards, it's Mark Ingram for 4 yards, and it's Greg McElroy to Julio Jones on a play-action pass because he's wide open and it's an easy pass for 6 yards and you're moving the chains. Look, I love the highlight play, the bomb shot to Ryan Williams. I love the deep shots to Jeremy Bernard. But you've got these backs, and Richard Young, we know he got hurt, and we reportedly he's back healthy now. You've got these running backs. You've got this interior offensive line that is supposedly Parker Brailsford, #1 center in college football, that Tyler Booker, maybe borderline first-round pick. But you're just not, to me, you're not taking advantage of your skill set. You're putting all the weight on Jalen Milroe.
I agree. I love Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is a fantastic quarterback. I think Jalen Milroe can win you a lot of football. He has won a lot of football. But I think they're just asking him to do a little too much.
Yeah.
I don't think that throwing the ball 45 times a game is really in his wheelhouse. I think he is a throw the ball 25 times a game. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know why everybody wants to turn their nose up at a guy who only throws the ball 25 times a game and maybe only passes for 240 yards. That's a great game if they win.
If you're not turning the football over, you're marching down the field and you're letting your other playmakers get involved. Yes.
I think, what his first few weeks of the season, I think we saw him play some of the best football he's played since he's been at Alabama. That Georgia game especially, that I think hands down, especially the first half, that's the best football I've ever seen Jalen Miller play since he's been in an Alabama uniform. From the second half of that Georgia game to now, it's like he's regressed back to the first snaps he took when he got on the field. And it's just, you wonder why that has happened. And I think it's the coaching staff just too much on it.
So you see Tennessee with a lot of loaded boxes, and they're reportedly Jalen's got the ability to get you in and out of plays. And Jalen is given the free reign to get you in and out of plays. At what point do you say, hey man, we're just calling this run play. We're just calling this play. And I know if it's a bad look, you can flip it to the other one. Like, I understand throwing the football against a loaded box. I get that. But at this point in the year, these defenses have decided that your best bet is pretty much load the box. Get Jalen Milroe before he can get going. Get out on the edge, really overload. Tennessee did a great job crushing you on the edge. Not really that much up the middle, but Caden Proctor and Elijah Pritchett, they were SOL. They had bad nights, and really, even schematically, even when they were making their own blocks, there were people coming off the edge just because of what Tennessee was doing number-wise. And so it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm not the football expert, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. You got any more comments before we dive really into Jalen?
No, I think we can go on. As much as I love him, that was not one of his best.
Not one of his best performances. I contend that it was at least his second worst performance. It wasn't as bad as your first start ever against Texas A&M, but buddy, it was close. It was close, and it was really horrific, and I'm not really even sure why. But you're looking at Jalen Milroe. Look, you got people online, and I'm giving my uncle a little hell for saying, does Alabama have any other receivers other than number 2? And I'm saying, 6 different receivers caught a pass, 8 different receivers caught a pass. How many receivers caught a pass? 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. Yeah, you did have multiple receivers catch a pass, but only one receiver had 18 targets. And I know that Jalen's probably sitting there thinking back to all the times in practice of, I threw it up to number 2 and he made a miraculous play. And look, Ryan Williams was open a good portion of these times, so it's not like they were all bad decisions. But you just got fixated. And like you said, regression. I thought back to the Wisconsin game, one of the best games Jalen Milroe has played in an Alabama uniform. You found Ryan Williams on a vertical shot. You found Jeremy Bernard on a vertical shot. You orchestrated their run game. You didn't turn the football over, right? In the Wisconsin game, everything stayed on schedule. You avoided negative plays. It was a great performance. And then you have the week off and you're playing against Georgia. I really think I need to go back and watch the Georgia game because people are talking about Jalen Milroe being hurt. And we'll talk about the comments from Tyler Booker this morning on the Next Round Live and from Kalen DeBoer today in the Naylor Stone media room. But they're talking about him being hurt, and they're talking about him being hurt somewhere in the Georgia game, taking a tackle. And look, whether you're hurt or you're not, he's out there. I just think that the problems in the run game, Mason, are the reason, you got people, why aren't you going to Ty Simpson? There's multiple reasons why you're not going to Ty Simpson. Not that Ty's not a good quarterback. I think that Ty's probably a talented quarterback, and I think that if you're Alabama, the Alabama coaching staff, you want Ty to stick around, and I think that you're probably going to want to move to him in the future. But right now, look at this offense. You can take the side bench Jalen Milroe, but I am staunchly in the side that you can't. You literally cannot, for multiple reasons. First, leadership. What did you do last year when you benched Jalen Milroe? What ended up happening? You lost to Texas. You threw 2 interceptions. One of them, I think, was a pick 6 or took Texas down to the goal line. 10-point loss, dramatic. Everybody, the sky's falling. You benched Jalen Milroe, and what happened, Mason?
The worst game since probably 2007?
Yes. And you can talk about the players care, and they're all trying, and I believe that. I absolutely do believe that. I'm not going to suggest otherwise, but that USF game down in Tampa sure made it hard to not suggest otherwise. And so they played terribly down at USF without him because maybe they're revolting. You could suggest that, or maybe, okay, the monsoon in South Florida, or maybe it's just, a combination of everything. I remembered Jermaine Burton dropping about a 40-yard touchdown pass in South Florida. I wonder if Tyler Butner would have still been the starter if Jermaine Burton holds on to that ball. That ball was right in the red basket in the end zone. But drops it, becomes an ugly game. You grit it all the way down to the wire, down your teeth. And so I contend you can't bench Jalen Milroe because what's going to happen in the locker room? Now, I do think the guys are mature, and they're not going to just lay down and say, we're not playing for Ty Simpson or we're not playing for whichever quarterback you want to nominate here. But I do think it's a question. I think it's a hard question. And a question that, would you, after what Jalen Milroe did for this coaching staff last spring, I mean, the second that it's announced that Kalen DeBoer is going to be the coach, where is that what? Where? That's why I wasn't at the airport, because I was at the facility. Kalen DeBoer's landing. They're getting the players into the facility to welcome Kalen DeBoer that night. It was bone cold that night. I remember outside Malmore Athletic Facility, and Jalen Milroe walks in, and all the fans are cheering him, and Jalen Milroe, roll tide, just like he does, and says, and I'm staying. Just right off the bat before meeting him, and I'm staying. Jalen Milroe leads your charge to say, these are the new coaches. These are the direction. Malachi Moore, you talk about the outburst a couple of weeks ago. Why don't you bench him? Why does Coach DeBoer have his back? Oh, you might question some of these other senior leaders and some of their play. But that's why they're still playing. That's why you're not going to bench them. That's why you cannot take them off the field. Because you take them off the field, you're saying these guys that vouch for us, that we said we believe in, that we said were the leaders of the team, that we might have named the permanent captains of the team this year. And you can debate whether that's a good idea or not. But Mason, you cannot take him off the field for that aspect alone. But you want to put it on the field. You want to say, okay, the players are mature. They're all going to want to put good tape on in the field. They've all got pride. Of course, I think that's true. Schematically, you've got a team that can't or isn't running the football traditionally. It's one or the other. I mean, we are hoping it's that they aren't. But
it does seem to be that maybe they just.
But there might be a thought or a theory from the coaching staff that says we cannot rely on this, so we can only dabble.
What do you think would be this? I mean, you mentioned earlier, potentially the best interior offensive line in the country. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand what about the offense could lead a coaching staff to Steve okay.
I think it takes
a while to get the run game going usually. I
think a little bit of that, and I think there might be. No, I think my own theory, you're going to, we're just putting it out there. Thank you. This is why I'm bringing you in there, because you're going to draw. I think a lot of, they got some effort issues with 57 is what I think it is. Some consistency issues with 57. And I think because of that, and really a little bit of schematic issues with controlling your edges, is you're having to help a lot. You're seeing.
Help those tackles, especially James Pierce.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the last 2 weeks you had, South Carolina, you can argue best defensive line in the country. If you don't like that argument, you can throw Tennessee right into that argument as well. You can say, hey, James Pierce, right on par with Kyle Kennard, probably better. They were getting after you. And so I think that you have some, why else are you throwing Wilkin Formby out there for the very first drive in the second half? What's the reason for that? I do think Wilkins a good player, and you want to give him a chance to keep redeeming himself. Yes, I get that.
That's not fun.
There's got to be a reason for that. There's got to be. We went into halftime and said, who's hurt, who's not trying, what reps are on tape that we don't like in the first half. Or, if you're hurt, you're hurt. That's understandable. You need an extra 15 minutes to work with the trainer through halftime. Okay, but I would contend that they went in the locker room and said, we don't like the effort that we're getting out of you, 57. We'll bench your butt in a heartbeat. And that's one of the only, painfully, watching Alabama, it's one of the few positions that's getting held to. So, you don't have that leadership factor. You don't have that. Exactly. And you can look, Wilkins going to give you his 100%. I'll tell you that. I don't know how talented Wilkins is. I think he probably can eventually play for Alabama and, probably has a next level future as a developmental player. But he's going to give you 100%, and he's going to know his assignment. That's the truth. And I hate saying that. I really hate saying that because I do believe they're all invested. I do believe they're all trying. But just some of the tape over 6 weeks is just like, look, when the young man wants to flip the switch at the end of the USF game, I'm hurt, but I don't care anyways. I mean, give him credit. Give him credit for that. I'm hurt. I'm not 100%, but we're struggling. Let me go in there, give it my shot, and I'm going to go maul some people. The run game opened up tremendously when he did that, but I might think there's a little talent gap between USF and Tennessee. So I think he has the talent. I think he's got it in him. I think it's just a matter of consistency. And hey man, you want to be the big nasty? We'd love that for you. They're running right behind you. Yeah, the edge is really struggling. And so you can't pinch Jalen Miller right now without a running game. Because, look, maybe Ty Simpson can continue to do some quarterback run, and I do think he's an athlete, but we're not. Mason, are you stupid? Is Ty Simpson the runner that Jalen Miller is?
That does bring up an interesting point, though, and I did kind of want to pick your brain a little bit.
Please.
There was a bit of discourse following the Tennessee game, and again, it might just tie back into maybe Jalen slightly injured, maybe he's hurt a little bit, but I did see some people kind of talking about Miller doesn't really have a ton of open field elusiveness. He's really just kind of straight line fast.
Cam Newton, baby.
Exactly. He does not have much Lamar Jackson.
Vince Young.
Yeah, and
get out and gallop.
I wonder if we as fans have oversold that a bit. Milroe, he's an amazing runner. It's like he can run the ball well, but is he really an amazing runner, or is he just super fast?
I think he's just super fast, and he's very Jalen Hurtsy. He's not as powerful, but just you give me a crease and watch out. I'm gonna hit it, and I'll hit it as hard as I can.
And the edges are constantly getting ran over. It's hard to get outside and
exactly. And so what are you going to do here when all your offense is pin and pull, and let's see how far we can get outside you, and you're stringing it out.
Ty Simpson's going to get you a better chance.
Right.
You are mistaken.
And so the alternative is, they say, if Ty's in there, then you're going to pass the ball better. Well, yeah, but you're going to get a different defense. You're going to get a different look on the defense, and you might have a chance to say Ty can dot you up for hitting these. That's one area, Jalen. Golly, you were doing so well at the beginning of the year. You're just taking the 4, 5, 7 yard pass, hitting CJ Dupree, or Robbie Oots, hitting Kendrick Law on the little drag. Great, perfect. Let those young men work because they're very talented. All you got to do is give them the ball. And so you've got that going on, and maybe Ty Simpson plays that game a bit better, but what does the defense do to respond? Everything has a counter. And so with the biggest problem being right now that Alabama's not running the ball, not or can't, you choose, not or can't. It's one or the other. And because of that, that's why Jalen's playing. Well, the leadership factor is massive. I think that the team believes in him, and I think that, look, you should too. You've watched Jalen really grow for 2 years. Really 3, honestly, from going back to his last start at Texas A&M. And did he play well on Saturday? He'll be the first one to tell you he didn't. I don't know if he was hurt. Today, Tyler Booker was a little confusing. What'd you think of this? If the people didn't see it, the Next Round Live, they do a YouTube show as well, former radio show. Great job. They do a great job. And they have Tyler Booker on every week, and they asked him, is Jalen Miller hurt, or is he dealing with something? And they were very respectful, in my opinion. They just asked him if he's dealing with something. And he went straight up, Jalen Miller was 100%. Period. First, And then they're asking him another question. And he goes, well, I want to go back to that because I'm sorry, I didn't answer you very well. Kudos to you, Tyler. I mean, you are a great interview. Honestly, you are. You've been great to me anytime we've interviewed together. So if anybody's listening to this, I really, really like Tyler Booker's approach to media, but it was a little weird today. And part of that, look, emotions are really, really raw and really high right now. And again, no one can. You think you care more than the players? You're wrong. You're just wrong. These guys have not been able to. Right, they've not been able to use their cell phones for 3 days. Let's just say that because of you, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But he gets in. He says, "Okay, actually, I want to go back. I said he's 100%. We're all dealing with things. It's SEC football. Everybody's dealing with, little things. Nobody's really at 100%, but he's good to go. He's given us the best chance to win." So that's a real answer and a real good answer. Kalen DeBoer, same sort of thing. Really, really glossed over it. Basically, is Jalen Milroe dealing with anything? And he gave the same sort of, it's the SEC. Everybody's a little nicked up right now, but he's good to go. He's ready to give us a great chance on Saturday. We believe in him, XYZ, ABC. Online rumors, and I want to make that very clear. Online rumors suggest that Jalen Milroe on the second drive of the game injured his hand. That he took a hit, injured his hand, and that is what caused accuracy issues. I mean, my goodness gracious, with the what should have been a 25-yard check down to Justice Haynes. I mean, I know you're all seeing the screenshot, and you're all wanting him to run or to throw it to Ryan Williams on the post, but Justice was his choice, and he airmailed Justice. It was terrible. That's a terrible pass. And if you ask him, he'll say the same thing. He is very self-aware. But suggestions are that he hurt his hand on the second drive of the game and battled through it. And again, you could say, well, why did you go to Ty Simpson? Every reason why we said earlier. You're not utilizing a traditional run game, and really a lot of your route concepts were vertical down the field, as you've been all year. You weren't doing a whole lot of rub routes, weren't doing a whole lot of let's hit the slant and just get the ball out real quick, which Nick Sheridan, please, let's get a little quick game going. Maybe that's not his specialty, but come on, give me a little slant to Ryan Williams, a little slant to Jeremy Bernard or something.
Jeremy Bernard is sidebar. He has turned it on.
Oh yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
He has become a very, very reliable runner.
And so you're not benching Jalen? Is that where I'm at? That's kind of what, like,
We're not.
it's literally not an option. Period. And so if you are suggesting that online, I only have nasty words for you. I'm not going to say them right here, but you make me want to throw my phone against the wall when I'm scrolling on Twitter because you're just not using your brain. I know you think, well, Todd's highly recruited. We don't want him to go in the transfer. Yes, you're right. We don't want him to go in the transfer portal. But right now, for this team, when Alabama lines up against Missouri, and for the next 5 games, right, there's only 5 left. It's Missouri, or is there 6? It's 5. It's Missouri, Oklahoma, LSU, Mercer, Auburn. 5, right? I'm not missing any. Yeah, it's those 5. 7 games in, 12-game season. Right. You're playing with Jalen Milroe, period. Unless he's actually hurt. Unless Jeff Allen says, hey, man, he's just not going. He's got a broken bone, this, strained muscle, that. And look, I hope that came through on the microphone. Knock on wood. We're not hoping for any sort of injury at all. But I'm just telling you, you ride with Milroe or don't watch the games.
He still gives the team the best chance to win, I think. I don't think we can really say that he doesn't. Had a couple bad breaks last few weeks. I think I don't think it's
those Vanderbilt turnovers were not his fault.
No.
Either of them.
No. Now,
2 terrible turnovers. Both of them were on other people.
Once you get to Tennessee.
All right, which one do you want to go to first? Goal line interception or interception to lose the game? It's a horrible throw. It's a horrible throw, but
I get the thought process. In practice, it's just not. It's not going to work. I don't know. The other one, the game-ending one. I mean, that's that that one I can almost give him a little bit of slack for. You're trying to make a play at the end of the game. You're trying to just make something happen. Sure, whatever. But that first one, I mean, we've been saying it is really just unfortunate. Press.
Mason, this is a big experiment. I left the music on this whole time, that rock music, I think. Oh, I hope I didn't. But I think I did. I had a buddy just text me. So if I did, I greatly apologize. This is a first experiment. We're working our way through this. It's all good.
It'll get better as we go.
It will. We're talking about Alabama and Tennessee clearly now. On the goal line, though, okay, it's a bad throw, and you're right. Like, you got to do it. You have to deliver a better ball. Everything. But can we just circle it back to what are we doing?
Yeah.
On the goal line, 10-yard line, 8-yard line, turn and hand the bleeping football, hit every curse button on my board because just turn and hand the ball off. Why are we asking? Look, I am a Jalen Milroe fan, if you haven't figured it out. I like the guy. I like his game. I think that as a college quarterback, you can really win with him. I think he's really grown in his game. Obviously, he's not a finished product, and we hopefully are criticizing him fairly for a poor game. But look, why are you asking him to throw a goal line fade? Now, he does it on the next drive as kind of a, hey, let me show you that I can. But neither call are good calls. Neither calls are high percentage plays. And I know Ryan Williams is a freak. I get that. Neither call from an offensive coordinator standpoint are a high percentage. Those calls are called. The red zone play calling the entire year has left me just saying, what in the world? It's been pin and pull, quarterback sweep to the left. It's been let's nub you and get to the wide side with a big sweep with either, you've had some almost no creativity. The passing game, you saw it all. Goal line fades. That's what you're working with. It is horrific, the approach in the red zone. And I was sitting I'm going to not call somebody out, but call somebody. I was sitting next to somebody in the Vanderbilt press box. Up in the Alabama's in the red zone. Alabama, pin and pull, Jalen Milroe scores. And I turned to Katie Wyndham, who I will name because we've complained. And I said, I mean, it worked, but the creativity is awful. I mean, this is like, you can call the offense from the press box, from your couch. It doesn't matter if you're watching the game from India, from Australia. If you're watching it and you've been watching this team, you can call, probably pin and pull to the left. Oh, probably sweep to the right. Oh, maybe goal line fade. It is beyond elementary inside the 15-yard line. And look, I'm not asking for you to do any sort of double reverse or any sort of, but just start to run some real offense. You are basically, when you get down in the 15-yard line, saying, I have nothing except for this monstrous athlete at quarterback. And look, does it spam work against Western Kentucky and USF? Of course. Great. Awesome. But when you're playing against a top 15, top 10, top 5 defense in the country, you can debate with your mama where Tennessee is, but they're good. They're really good. You're in the side of the 15-yard line, and your best bet is goal line fade. Now, look, Ryan's good. A great athlete. But can we not? Like, where is your attitude there? And so save your man Jalen Milroe one interception here. You're asking him to make an NFL-level throw, which, of course, he wants to put on tape for the scouts, of course. And
he has done it at times. He
did it the 2 drives later when he gets down the opposite way. But it's just neither call is conducive to the offense, in my opinion, and neither call is creative. And so it just leaves a ton to be desired. And people, you can rightfully claim and complain about the interceptions. That one was bad. It was a horrible throw. But why are you putting him in that position? The second interception is all on Jalen Milroe. There's nothing you can say to really forgive him. It's trying
to make something happen when there wasn't anything there, really. Force the ball when it wasn't there.
Oh, it's open. It's the open man. It's the right read, but it's a bad. I mean, it's just another bad pass where you're behind him and you're letting walk-on Will Brooks from Mountain Brook High School or whatever. Good job. Great for you. You get your moment against Alabama. You can go tell your grandkids. It's a horrible throw. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible throw. And over the middle with the game on line, I mean, I hate putting this out there, but to me, and you can please disagree at Joe Gaither 6 on the comments section. But to me, it looked kind of like a bleep it throw. Just saying, it just kind of looked a little like, hey man, we're firing it in there.
Let's go home.
Let's see what happens. It's fine. It's tight window, and it was just disappointing. So
you wonder if all of the throwing, the
47 throws,
is this just what the Kalen DeBoer offense wants to be like with his quarterback in there? He's just trying to force Jalen, fit a square into fit a square peg into a round hole with Jalen Milroe here.
I certainly hope not, because I think you have to have look, I try to be as modern as you can be, but I do think you have to have a running game. I don't think you have to just run the ball all the time, get under center and, wishbone it, but I think you should have some attitude. Oh my God. I mean, from the running back, and quarterback is fun. It's great, but he's a great athlete.
They're great. It's like,
mixing in.
Yes. But we should not rely on the quarterback.
The
to get
wrinkles.
The run game going.
Exactly. He should be the wrinkle. He should be, I've given this ball to Jam Miller 7 times now, and you're getting tired of tackling Jam Miller for 4 yards, but you're going to keep doing it. And whoop, I'm going to take it for 70 yards. And you did. I mean, utilization is all wrong. The disbursement is all wrong. And so it's really frustrating. More topic of the offense, Mason. You're going to go 4th down, 22. Screen pass to Justice Haynes. You want to open this, and I'll just respond to you. You just give me what do you think?
What are we doing? If I remember correctly, that is a we're in there in a moment where the defense just gotta stop. We get pinned super deep. So your defense already showed it can get one stop. All you need for them to do is get another one. So just punt the ball back to them. Put your defense back out there. Let them do what they've been doing the last 2 drives, and then go out with 45, 50 seconds left to try to win the game. Instead, just throw I don't even know what you call it. It's not a prayer because it's a screen. So you try to make something, you try to catch them off guard, I guess, try to catch them on their heels maybe by throwing a screen pass underneath.
Now it's an unusual call. But
I think I see where he's coming from with it, but it's not the way that, I maybe would have played that.
If you watch it back, I know we've been doing a lot of hammering on Nick Sheridan, but if you watch it back, he's one Ryan Williams block away from getting there. He is. And it goes back to execution all day long. Alabama didn't execute anything really offensively. It's an unusual call, but you're the coach. You think we need a touchdown to win in that position. You're down 21-17. Touchdown to win. We'll drive. 4th and 22. You're going to either you're going to need to get a stop right there where you got the stop, and give up the field goal, or get a stop, and you've punted it back and you've lost the time. So really the risk is negligible, because if they kick a field goal, a touchdown still ties it. You're not out of range. A touchdown, if you want to go win it, 2-point conversion, bam, you've cut their heart out right there at the end. So it's still all right there. You didn't really change the math there. Oh, and the play call just almost worked. So that's not really one that I will hammer at as much, just because the execution almost made it work. And from a math standpoint, from a time standpoint, you saved all the same time with your timeouts, and you got the ball back, 20-25, pretty much the same place that you would have gotten with the kickoff, and then bleeping through your interception. But your 4th down play there, you may as well just go for it. Just call your best play. And if they felt that was their best play, you can, again, debate that with your mama. But I think that if you look at it from the big boy angle, Ryan is almost making a block, and Justice has a chance to make a play right there. So that's one that I don't feel as bad about. Yeah, please.
Before we move on to the offense, I do want Caleb Odom.
I have him in my discipline category.
Okay.
If you want to talk about that.
No, let's table it and get when we get to the discipline.
Oh, my Lanta. I mean,
what's happening
there? Discipline category is an hour and a half long. False start, illegal substitution, falling down, faking injuries, retweeting fans. The discipline category is a mile long. Oh my, it's ridiculous. It's terrible. Before we continue, we're about to flip to the defense, and I want to tell you about our friends Druid City Music Hall. They are the premier place for live music on the Strip. You can check them out online at druidcitymusichall.com/shows. On Thursday, you're too late. They're sold out. Alex Warren's going to be playing on Thursday. On Friday, sold out again. Maddox Baston. That's why you got to go online right now and get your tickets. druidcitymusichall.com/shows so that you can see on Saturday, November 2nd, it's a Bama bye week, country music star Ashley Cook. Easy chance to see an up-and-comer right there on the Strip, druidcitymusichall.com/shows. You can get your tickets for the next available show. It's Saturday, November 2nd. Miss Ashley Cook will be in the house, and that'll be a lot of fun. You won't have anything to do because Alabama is going to be resting. Maybe they're going to be bounced back after a homecoming game against Missouri, and we'll have all week to talk about Missouri. But let's see. You ready to talk about the defense?
Yeah, let's move. Will
go take it.
I didn't think really the defense. I mean, look, there was a lot of bad spots. Don't get me wrong, but that's not where your main gripe should lie. Is with defense after this game. You know, they did everything they needed to do for Alabama to still win. 24 points. You walked into if you on Friday night says Alabama's holding to 24. What are you saying? That's a win.
We love it. We say great job.
So defense. Just barely did its job, but they did it. Defense did its job, and we can get into
what's up with the secondary, Mason?
Yeah.
What's up with every team that you play? Now, I got a question. Is it Alabama's blanket coverage? Is it bad wide receiver play? Is it bad quarterback play? I mean, Carson Beck played really, really well, especially in the second half, getting after you, and Nico connected on that one bomb pass. Really, Lenore Sellers, I don't think had one long one. Did he have one long one? But you still had, opportunities week in and week out against this secondary, and almost every week, save for that Georgia game. I mean, shoot, I guess Vanderbilt got you as well on that 4th and 1 for a big bomb shot. They've gotten so unlucky again this week.
Lucky again. I think if Nico Iamalevo was Iamaleava, sorry, couple tries, but if he was throwing the ball like like most of us know he's capable of doing, and actually connected on many of the throws that he missed, Tennessee probably has 45 points. He really bailed Alabama out a lot by missing a lot of open receivers. I think we talked about it before we got on the show. I can think back just picturing it in my head at least 4 different times.
3 or 4, yeah.
Receivers streaking wide open, no one within 5 yards, and he misses with outstretched hands by yards. Alabama catches a break there again, but it was what's happening back there. I don't think it's a lack of talent. One thing I don't want to think it's a lack of talent is inexperience. Obviously you mentioned Keon Sabb. He was, we'll get to that, but he was dealing with issues there.
Well, why don't you just go take it? Because one of those deep shots would have hurt Alabama really, really badly, opening up the second half. Nico Iamaleava throws a deep shot to Squirrel Right, and it would have been a tough catch, but it was in his hands. And then
Keon Sabb breaks his
foot, but sells out, breaking up the play.
I mean, yes. Incredible play, incredible effort. He has been an excellent addition to this defense, but he breaks his foot, stays in the game, plays the rest of the game with that broken foot. You can't say that helped him. Obviously that I'm sure led to some of the busted coverage.
They said that he was already hurt coming into the game, so he plays the first half on a maybe fractured foot or so,
okay.
Maybe like semi-injured foot, and that was the play that said, "Bloop, you're done."
Okay, so warrior, gritty player, great, awesome that you stuck it out and toughed it out and played the game. But at some point, your cornerback dealing with a broken foot. Let's let the next guy get in there. Maybe you're hurting a little more than you're helping. So, and you look back to that game, as many times as Tennessee wide receivers were running wide open, you think maybe he did hurt, maybe.
Well, let's talk about three times the Alabama defense did come up really, really strong. You got an interception from Malachi Moore. You got an interception from King Mack. And you got a strip from Malachi Moore that I think it was Keon Sabb that came up with it. So one of the defensive backs came up with it. But again, Your bleeping offense. You give them 3 gifts. I mean, look, how is this game different if Alabama, who chose to receive smartly, I think, chose to receive so that, I mean, the idea is you march down the field, you get up 7-0, and you quiet the crowd. Well, you didn't do that, but maybe let's say you did. You take advantage of some of these turnovers. You might have been up on Neyland. You might have been up on Tennessee 24-0 before.
It could have looked very similar to that Georgia.
Yes. But the offense is, just awful. So kudos to your defense for getting those 3 turnovers. How do you want to grade them against Dylan Sampson? Because that was my biggest issue coming into the week, stopping Dylan Sampson because Nico has been erratic, and Nico was erratic again. Do we give him a good grade because he didn't go berserk? It took him 20-something carries to get the yardage. Or do we give him a bad grade because it was 130-some yards and 2 touchdowns? You told me it earlier. 139 yards on 26 carries with 2 touchdowns. Is that a F plus? What are we thinking about that?
Yeah, I am not one to play if this play doesn't happen, you take that play out. They had a pretty good performance. No, you got to take the whole performance. You got to take everything that Dylan Sampson did against this defense. He had 139 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So that's bad.
So that's bad.
That's a bad day.
Bad. That is a bad day for the defense.
If you thought Cedric Johnson was bad at 70 and 2 touchdowns, then yeah, that's doubly bad.
It was a bad day. They did some things well, like you said, the turnovers, but overall defensive performance did leave some to be desired. By the end of the game, I think they did just enough to maybe give the offense, the opportunity to go win it, but it's not a good performance.
That's terrible. It's an awful performance, in my opinion, just collectively. Maybe I'm just emotional. Maybe I'm just emotional because if y'all know me, we're from Chattanooga, and we grew up with the terrible Tennessee Vols reigning terror over my elementary school days. Phil Fulmer going through my nightmares. It's a little, every other week I usually can stay pretty objective, but I'm trying not to be so upset.
I remember 3rd grade, big. I'm from, it's pretty close. And that was right around I think that might have been the 12 to 10 year. May have been the year before. Either way, the teacher, Tennessee had Alabama. It did not happen that year when Mason walked into class that Monday and said, "Listen here, Miss Kaylin, roll Tide."
All right, let's tell everybody where we are. Once again, we're in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios right here off of McFarland Boulevard, right past the Tiger Rock on the left. Derek Daniel so kindly lets us hang out in his building, and you can call him at 205-758-3391 for all of your insurance needs, home, life, auto insurance. You need to make sure that you're taken care of with all the crazy things that could happen in this world. We appreciate Derek Daniel for taking care of us. Let him take care of you. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel and State Farm is there. You can call him at 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today.